Hello, everybody. Welcome to a very special episode, year-end episode of Earth's Mightiest Comics. This is our kind of looking back on the year in comics, and we're gonna talk about our top 10 comics of the year, plus some honorable mentions. We're not gonna be talking about our worst comics of the year for a couple of reasons. I think for one thing, it's just more fun to talk about the good ones, but also like a lot of the bad comics we don't read all the way through, and so I feel like it would not be entirely fair to just like trash on them without knowing kind of if it gets any better or not. Because it's not like with movies we watch the full thing. So if it's like a Fast and Furious, we can shit on that. But we don't read every comic in a bad comic run. So we're not gonna be talking about any of those. Just the best. We've also got some honorable mentions. So yeah, we're gonna talk about some comics here. I've got 12 honorable mentions. I'm just gonna run through them really quick. I don't want to spend too much time on these. I want to get to the kind of the full meat here. But just so everybody knows, the criteria for our top 10, not the honorable mentions, but the top 10, essentially just is that they needed to have had, the series needed to have had at least 4 issues come out this year. So anything below that, and it's not eligible. I realize it's a totally arbitrary number, but I did feel like I wanted to have at least I wanted to have some sort of issue baseline in place because if it's just like one issue, I've read really great issues that tanked in, I've read series that had a really great first issue that then tanked in like issue number 3, 4, 5, whatever. So this way, at least we have a better sense of if the run is going to be good overall. Yeah. But anyway, I'm just going to kind of run through all my honorable mentions really quickly, and then I'll throw to Sebastian for his, and then we'll get into the list proper. So, my first honorable mention, I'm going to kind of actually tie these 3 in together. X-Men Red, Immortal X-Men, and the Sins of Sinister event. I think these are all great series. The thing is, I don't think I read any X-Men Red or Immortal X-Men from this year because I'm very far behind. So I think they would have been on this list had I read any from this year, but I didn't. So I'm going to exclude them. But I love these series. I'm sure they would have been there. Sins of Sinister, I have read most of, and that did come out this year. I haven't finished that up yet, which is why I'm not going to throw it in there as like the best event or whatever that we talked about, even though it would be my favorite event of the year. And I think this would have a genuine spot on the list had I finished the total event. I've also got Justice League versus Godzilla versus Kong on my honorable mentions. I think this is a very fun series that I literally just read issue 3 before recording this, and it's my favorite issue yet. I'm not going to go into details, but I think, this series has been very fun. I think it's gotten better with every issue. And it's just been some fun monster action versus the Justice League, which is just, very, very fun. Transformers is also on here on my honorable mentions. I don't have much to say about this besides it's really fucking cool. Some great action. The art is fantastic. It's been a really fun series so far. I've also got Gods on here. Also just read Gods number 3. This would have had a real shot at the actual top 10 list. I think it's really interesting, and the new ideas and the just kind of experimenting with stuff within the Marvel universe has been really interesting with this series. I think Jonathan Hickman is great at that. The dialogue is pretty excellent for the most part. I think it's a very interesting series at the very least. Not all of it 100% clicks with me, but it's very interesting, and I'm glad that it's experimenting and doing new stuff with the Marvel universe. I've got Night Terrors on my honorable mention. I don't know why. I don't really like that series that much. I mean, listen, the core series was good. We've talked about this at length. The core series was good. The tie-ins were exhausting. But I'm gonna and that's why I'm not having it on the full list. But I'll put it on the honorable mentions. Whatever. I have Blade on here as well. This had a real shot at actually making it in my top 10. The reason it's not is because I think it started kind of rough. But the past 2 issues have been very good, and I think if it had had that level of quality all throughout, this would have been pretty easily in my top 10. And if it continues to be as good as it's been lately, very well could be in my top 10 for next year. Blue Beetle's on here as well. Solid, not amazing. I don't have much more to say on that. I think it's good. Birds of Prey is another one that had a real shot at being on my actual top 10. It's not because I just think it's a little bit too inconsistent. When this series is good, it's excellent. It's one of the best things that is coming out that month. But I think issue 2 in particular was not great, and issue 4 I think also kind of dropped off a little bit. Issues 1 and 3 were fantastic, but I think the inconsistency made it so just I'm not entirely. I didn't feel like I would put it on the list. Moon Knight is also on here again. Same thing. When Moon Knight is good, it's great. But I did feel like this year in Moon Knight in particular was a little bit less consistent than some previous ones. There were some real highlights, like issue number 25 of Moon Knight and issue number 30. were some of my favorites of the series. Full stop. But I do think that that it was just a little bit too inconsistent in those in between chapters where it was just kind of filling out stuff and building the things. I don't think the build-ups were necessarily fantastic for this series. And then my final honorable mention is Universal Monsters Dracula. Really great. The art is incredible. It's just a really cool adaptation of that movie. If it had had all 4 issues come out this year, would have been on the list, no problem, I think. But as it is, I'm putting it in the honorable mentions. So yeah, that's my list for honorable mentions.
All right, nice. Yeah, that was very fast. Yes, ran through that one. For those that don't know, I'm being sarcastic. But anyway,
that was less long-winded than I normally am. So I'll take it.
I thought you were just gonna like breeze through, like, all right, this. All right.
No, I wanted to give some reasoning for why they're yeah.
All right. So I've got less, but I think before I got rid of the numbers, I think I had 11 if I remember correctly. So I'll breeze through these. We're gonna start off with Transformers. Really enjoyable, especially that the latest one. Really good. If there were 4 of this one, this would easily have made top 10 for me, simply because I love Transformers in general. So I genuinely enjoyed the first 2, but I could understand why others would not. It is a bit slower in some aspects, but that third one, that ending, the way they ended it was amazing. So it's going up here. Then we've got Hawk Girl. Another, I feel like I have to honor it because I stuck through it. Or I think I'm missing one more, but
the last issue just came out yesterday.
Yeah,
when we were recording this. Yeah.
Yes. So I've got one more, but I feel like I have to mention it. I stuck through it, so it's up here. It's not the worst thing. There's definitely good ones and there's certainly bad ones. But overall, I think it's definitely manageable. Next on the list, we got Guardians of the Galaxy. I thought we were enjoying it, and after he dropped it, I just could not bring myself to read it either. I really don't have an explanation for that one. Just did not. I just saw it on there, and I was like, man, no. But overall, I think the story was pretty interesting. Kind of confusing at times, especially towards the beginning, where it was just like going full speed ahead, and we were just like kind of lost. Some pretty bad ones, especially that hunting one. I think is like, especially the beginning of that one at least. Let's just say that. But next on the list we got Grimm. This one I had to add here. But overall, it wasn't the worst things. It wasn't the worst. Had some good ones. The bad ones were just because it was like slow, in my opinion, and it had a hard time of explaining things like really well. So, but other than that, I loved the art. I liked, in general, the story. Parts of it I come to like dislike, which is why I slowed down in reading it. But
you also essentially caught up, though.
Yeah, I did essentially catch up because I forced myself to. Well, I forced you to read it, so I had to read it. But yeah, so overall, I still really enjoyed that one. Then we got Spine-Tingling Spider-Man. Had to add this one. I freaking love this one. The only reason it's not in my top 10 is because there's only 3, I believe.
Yeah, and the third one just came out yesterday.
Third one just came out. So yeah, but love the art. Love where the story. I like the story so far. But my favorite part about this one is simply the art. It's just amazing. Next on the list, we've got Spirit World.
Oh yeah, that came out this year.
Yes, that did come out this year. Ended. I think I want to say like a month ago. I want to say
probably. I think that was that like first week of November.
Yeah. So and I stuck through it.
I have maybe 2 left. I have 1 or 2 left. Yeah.
But overall, I still, for the most part, enjoyed it. Sometimes I found that the story was just kind of repetitive. Because it was constantly the same thing, I feel like. But
I think that's
what you get.
Ended up, yeah.
Yeah, I think that's but like I don't know how much you could do in like just like six chapters.
Right.
It's either split it up 2 stories in 3 or just 1 6. So it's.
I actually hope they give Xanthian ongoing because I think they were kind of just testing the waters with that character since they had never been introduced before.
Exactly. Like it was okay at best. It was better. It was better than mid. Next on the list, we've got Batman and Robin. I'm actually liking where this one's going. At first, I wasn't liking it, mostly because of the art. It was super hard to follow. But with the new artist, I don't know how long he's
Same
planning on
artist,
staying.
actually.
Is
They
it
just
same?
add. And so
No, yes.
this most recent issue was the series regular, and then also another guy was
Also
also
another
mixed in
one.
there. Yeah.
Yes, that's yeah. So I hope they keep both of them moving forward because it was a lot better in my opinion. It was just a lot easier to follow, and I am enjoying the story. I like the beginning parts. The beginning one, I know we had our problems with it because it was supposedly taking place during Gotham War, which made no sense because that had nothing. Like literally, the way he was acting and how everybody else was acting was nothing compared to Gotham War. But now that it's over, I feel like it tells this story better. It just comes across better. Uh, Next, we've got The Oddly Pedestrian Life of Christopher Chaos. This is another one that I, at first, quite enjoyed, and then I dropped off simply because I just felt that it was. Ah, man, I just felt like at some point the story just like I don't know why, but it just got boring to me. It just didn't interest me anymore. But I think I think I just had to take a break from it, and I'm just gonna wait for it to get more, and then I'm gonna continue reading it again, hop back on, see what's up. But as of right now, it's on the low list of this honorable mention. Then we've got Predator versus Wolverine. I enjoy this story. I think it's pretty fun. It switches back a lot from past, present, and future, which can be hard to follow. But other than that, it's pretty. I think it's a pretty good read. And then lastly, I've got the What If Dark series. I added this on here just because I'm forcing myself to read all of these,
Oh my
and
God.
most of them are really not good. Only some of them are good, and some of them are okay. That's all I've got to say.
Okay. With that, we can get into our actual top 10. We're going to go reverse order number 10 to number 1. And my number 10 is only just barely eligible. It only became eligible yesterday at the time of recording, and that is Green Lantern War Journal. So yeah, I hurriedly read this like right before we started recording, because I was like, shit, I can't put it on the list if I haven't read the 4th issue. But yeah, I think it's just pretty solid. So I won't get into the 4th issue too much. But yeah, I think it's been good. I have been enjoying John as a character more, I think, than I have been Hal in his Green Lantern series. I don't think all of it is quite as good as that series. I think, the action is still good, but I think the construct art in the core Green Lantern series by Zermanico is just kind of it goes above and beyond anything that kind of needs to be in a Green Lantern book. It's so creative, and it's not just the situation of like, because I feel like usually Green Lantern books, it's like, I'm gonna make a big gun, I'm gonna make a brick wall, I'm gonna make a race car. Like it was, they're actually doing some interesting construct stuff in the core Green Lantern series. Less so here, but I think I do just like the character of John Stewart more. And I think the story's been really interesting with the whole Revenant Queen angle going on. I think there's some really interesting places you can take that. I don't think issue 4 is as strong as the others, which is why it's number 10 on this list and not higher up. But I think, yeah, generally it's been very good. I think Philip Kennedy Johnson, who's the writer, is doing a great job. And I think Montos on the art is also very good. So all around, good stuff. I like it. Number 10 on my list.
All right. All right. So for me, number 10 is The Madness. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did you read issue 4?
I read issue 4.
Okay, I didn't know that.
This. Yes.
Gotcha.
Yes. Yeah. At first it was in my honorable mentions, and then I was like, or I was gonna add it to my honorable mentions, and then I was like, I don't like anything else, so I decided to read number 4 right before, just so I could add it.
Okay.
But yes, really, I love the story so far. It's great. I like the art. I don't really have much to say about that one. I got a lot more to say about my top 5s than anything else, but
I will say, because I read the first 3 of the Madness. It's not on my list. I have issues 4 and 5. I plan to get back around to it. I'm going to try to catch up before the finale, because issue number 6 is the final issue. So I liked issues 1 and 2 a lot. I do think issue 3 kind of dropped off a bit, but I am planning to sort of back around to this one.
Yeah, it was good. I like this one still.
My number 9, I talked about this a little bit already. My number 9 is Green Lantern, just the core Green Lantern series. Maybe. I don't know. This is all something to change. This is all like, this will change like day to day, probably going forward for a while. But yeah, the normal Green Lantern series by Jeremy Adams and Zermanico. Again, I already kind of mentioned it, but the Constructs art is what is really hard carrying this series. The art is incredible. Not to say the story's bad. It's fine. It's fun enough. But it's also like fairly standard for Green Lantern stuff. There is some hints to the further, like what's going on with like why is Earth quarantined and what's, why is Hal like exiled from the rest of the Lanterns? Like that stuff is interesting, but we haven't made much ground in that regard yet. So I'm not really, I can't really kind of. It's hard to get super invested in that when there's been so little like kind of doled out to the audience on that. But again, the action is great. The Construct artwork is just phenomenal. I wish they had used a different villain other than Sinestro for the first issue, like the first arc, because like I've read a handful of Green Lantern stories, not very many. Besides this Green Lantern War Journal story, all of them have had Sinestro as the main villain. It's just like I'd love to see a new villain, guys. Like, yeah. I know, like, I don't know any other Green Lantern villains, but like somebody other than Sinestro would be nice. But yeah, I think it's very solid. It's one of the better series of DC, and that art is just hard carrying the series. So if Sermenico ever leaves, then I would maybe not be talking so highly about this series in the future. But yeah, I think for now it's very good.
All right, so my number 9 is Dark Ride. I'm
gonna add Dark Ride to my honorable mentions. It's not on my list.
It's not even on your. Wow. All right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Dark Ride. Yeah, this was pretty early on into our series. Here, he made me read this one, and I instantly fell in love with it as well. This one was really great. I loved the whole mystery murder aspect behind it, but it's not like traditional mystery murder. It's like around a theme park and demons and all this other stuff. So it's really interesting to read. The art itself is super simple, but like it looks great.
Yeah, it's very effective for what the series is trying to do.
Very effective. And so I just loved like the whole idea behind it. I think it's very creative, and it's very fun to read, and it's super interesting to try and figure out what's going to happen next as well, because they keep throwing us in for loops here and there, and it keeps us on our toes constantly.
Yeah, I forgot this series existed until just now. So yeah, it won't be eligible for next year because there's only 3 issues left in the series. So okay, my number 8 is I'm gonna get yelled at for this. My number 8 is Something is Killing the Children.
Oh my god.
Yeah, it was just at number 6. I dropped it 2 spots.
No shot.
Here's the thing, right? This series is oftentimes excellent. The thing is, Sebastian, I think you're also partially looking at this because you read the entire series this year. And to be fair, I also did too, but that doesn't really work. I'm gonna just cut all that out. But like in my mind, right, and I know this isn't actually correct, because I know there were issues that came out in the earlier part of the year, but because I didn't read them monthly with that, I am essentially looking at this series for this year as being the 5 issues that we talked about on the show, issues 31 through 35, the most recent arc, which I think was just very inconsistent. I would say I liked 3 of those 5 issues, and I only loved 2 of them. And the reason this is on my list at all this year is because issue number 32 of the series is my favorite individual issue I read this year, and it is my favorite issue of the series, and it's one of my favorite comics I've ever read, period. I think issue number 32 is a perfect comic, genuinely perfect. And issue 34 is also great, but I think they really fumbled the ending to this arc. I love James Tynion IV. He's the writer. I love Arthur Deladera, who's the artist. But I just think they really fumbled the conclusion of the arc. I think the way it wrapped up felt really rushed. I think just the convergence of Cutter and the Duplicitype on the farm should have lasted longer and should have had more go on with it. I know, like, plot-wise, I don't really know how you could do that, but it just felt rushed, and it didn't feel satisfying to me. There's some interesting stuff to say on for the future, for sure. I'm definitely going to keep going with the series. Like, it's a great series, and I love it. But I can't put it in my top 5 for sure, and I'm gonna put it at 8, because I do think that last arc did kind of just sour my view on the series a little bit. And so that's my number 8. I know you'll be talking about later, but that's where I fell on Something to Killing the Children for this year.
Yeah. Okay. No, I mean, I can see why. I can see your point.
Yeah.
Talking about specifically what we talked about during our time on here.
Yeah.
I looked at it definitely as a whole. And honestly, even if I didn't look at it as a whole, and I only looked at it from what was this year in general, which was 28 to 35,
Yeah.
I still think it'd be where it is on my list at least.
Yeah. For
So.
me, it was the first 15 issues are essentially perfect, and then there's some really, really high highs scattered throughout. But I don't think the series has been as strong since then. Still good, but I do feel it's been getting worse over time. And I think this most recent arc is the most kind of
No, definitely
the most clear representation of that. Yeah.
I'll continue what I say on my arc before I say everything now, and I don't have anything to say when I say it.
Yeah.
But yes, I'll continue what I'm gonna say when I say my list. So
yeah.
All right, so my number 8, I believe, yes, is the Incredible Hulk.
Okay, this is also on my list.
Yeah, I figured it was gonna be on your list.
Yeah.
So the reason, all right. So first, I'll say this: I don't overly love Hulk comics, especially the the older ones.
We have a history with Hulk comics, Sebastian.
Yes. I do not like them. The only other besides the original Hulk comics from the 1960s, I want to say.
Yep. Yeah.
The only other one I've read was Immortal Hulk, which was amazing.
Did you finish Immortal Hulk?
Haven't even finished that one.
Okay, yeah.
I'm close, but I haven't finished it yet. But going to this one, I had, open mind, whatever. It's fine. I love this one. It was great. Just the whole idea behind making it a bit more not, I'll just say gory, but it's more
it's body horror.
Yeah, body horror, that type of stuff was amazing. I think it fits perfectly with what they're trying to do with the Hulk and all these other monsters, so I think it fit really well. I love the art. So far, I love the story. The only reason it's so far down on my list is because of what they did with the Man-Thing.
Okay.
And that one just, I came up with a new rule because of it, and that one is one of the few ones that I've given so low simply because of that reason. And yeah, that's literally the only reason it's number 8 on my list, is mostly because it's literally only because of that reason. But besides that, this probably would be in my top 5s.
Yeah. I did kind of. They did underuse the Man-Thing. I'll get into this series more when it pops up on mine. But they didn't use Man-Thing super well. Okay, well, my number 7. I'm gonna put number 7 is the Bone Orchard Mythos Tenement. Yeah, I think this is very good. It's written by Jeff Lemire. The artist is Andres Sorrentino on the whole run, and I think this series, the high points of this series are incredible. I think particularly issues number 4 and 5, I want to say, are really great, and the art is great. It's some of the best art I've seen in any comic this year. There's 6 issues out at the time of recording. I think issue 6 was a bit of a downgrade. I do think it kind of dropped off a little bit. Not a huge degree, but a little bit. Issue number 7 is actually coming out in about a week, so I'm not counting that into this, even though this episode will be coming out after that comic came out. Based on the first 6 issues, it's good, and I think the story is interesting. I do think it's been maybe a little meandering over time, and I don't feel that in the individual issues usually, but looking at it as a whole, I do feel like some of it's kind of been dragged out a little bit. And it's not felt in every issue, but I think sometimes I'm just like, okay, maybe we could have trimmed some stuff here, trimmed some stuff there, trimmed some stuff there. I do think it's been very long and kind of pulling back and showing what actually is happening in this tenement building. But the actual horror angle of it is great. All the horror stuff is really good. I think the artwork really leans into that, and the atmosphere provided is genuinely chilling and creepy and all that stuff. It's very good. But the story it is good, but it's also definitely of the Bone Orchard Mythos stuff, this has been the least obtuse. There's clearly they're building some stuff up, and it feels like it's more of a genuine plot that is easier to follow, easier to understand than some of the other miniseries that have come before this. But yeah, I don't think I can put it too much higher, because it does feel like there's definitely points where I've been this is still good, but not quite at the level. It's the art is kind of hard carrying a lot of this. So, but yeah, I'm gonna put it at 7 as my number 7.
All right. Okay, so my number 7. is it's gonna be Batman.
I thought about this one. I didn't put
Mhm.
it on there, yeah, but I did think about it.
Yep. So I started this one this year, on number 125, which technically did come out last year.
Yeah. The first, I think,
Um,
Stitch came out of this run last year. 125 through
yes,
130, I think, came out last year.
130. Yes, you're correct on that one. But even without those six, I would still honestly put this on my list. I still generally really enjoy this series as a whole. I think it started out slow, considering if we started at 131. It started out kind of slow because I didn't really like this
The multiverse arc?
the Red Mask, yeah, that Red Mask
Yeah.
multiverse arc. That was kind of I don't want to say boring because it was fun to see Batman interact with, because if I remember correctly, there were parts where you saw him interact with other versions of himself.
Yes, but
in
that
this
was
one.
just the last issue of that arc.
Yeah, yeah. So that one was fun, but like the beginning part of that wasn't that great. Seeing Batman as just not even Batman, just Bruce Wayne in this entirely other separate universe. Basically making the legend of Batman all over again. Wasn't that great. What really picked it up was number like 137. I remember specifically, and 130. I think was 138 one of the ones that were really good. I don't remember that one.
Those are the two Gotham War
Those were
issues.
I remember Gotham more, but I remember 137 specifically being really great, and then 139 and 140 have also been pretty good. But overall, I really enjoy this one. Art has been consistent throughout, really great, and I'm interested to see where it goes now, since they're bringing back Failsafe as Zurin Aw, essentially, which was also introduced in this run, both of them. And so,
well, Zur's been around for a while, but Zur in this capacity is in this. It
yeah.
was got introduced in this run, yeah.
Yeah. And so, yeah, so I'm really interested to see where this goes, and I really like the idea of the Zurin Aw inside Batman. So, yeah, I think I really enjoyed this one.
Yeah, the multiverse arc is the reason this is not even in my honorable mentions.
Yeah.
I think generally, until that last issue, that arc is bad. Like, I actually don't think it's good.
Yeah.
And I think I actually was also going to say, like, Gotham War is also what I'm holding as this run, but that's not really fair, because I think the Gotham War, like, the Batman tie-ins of Gotham War were the highlights of that event. So, like, those were good issues on their own. I just think that event was not very good. Yeah, it's definitely picked up a bit recently, for sure. But I think that first arc really kind of soured me on the run for the year. Spoiler alert, there is going to be a Chip Zdarsky written comic on my list higher up, but it's not this one. So, yeah. Okay, but I'll move on to my number 6 we're up to. And this is where this one is going to stay for now. This is the one that was my number 10 before we started recording this. In the span of about half an hour, I have bumped it up to number 6. So this is Immortal Thor. I think this is good. None of its issues have blown me away. I've given every single issue an 8 out of 10, which means I thought it's very consistently good, just not great. I think issue 4 was definitely the highlight. I think my problem with this is it's often this series, especially at the first couple issues, I would really like one half of the issue and not really care for the other half of the issue. And so it kind of like balanced out, but it was like, I think there's been some, this run has taken a little bit to find its footing. I'm very excited to see where it goes going forward. I mean, it's Al Ewing on the writing, who I love, and it's I think Martin Kokolo's art has been very good thus far as well. So I'm definitely excited to see where it keeps going. I think this is a really good, cool, creative team who could do some fantastic things with this book going forward. That being said, it's not quite there for me yet. I think some of the Thor core stuff was cool, but not like the best thing ever. I think Toranos was not as imposing a villain as he should have been. I think he kind of ended up being not wasted, but not as fully. I think his potential was not fully realized as a villain. But there's a lot of very cool ideas here. There's a lot of good stuff. I think the dialogue is oftentimes very good to great. And I think, a lot of the stuff that is being teased for the future of this series is very exciting. So this is where Immortal Thor is shaking up on mine.
Nice. So yeah, my number 6 is also Immortal Thor, actually.
There we go. Hey.
Hey, yeah, we actually collided on one. Yeah, I agree with what you're saying. I think these are, like you said, all they're all consistently good. I want them to be great. You know,
Yeah.
I want
You
them
really
to
liked
be
issue number 4, didn't you? You give it a 9, I thought.
I think, oh man, issue number 4. I think no, I gave it a. Oh yeah, I did give it a number 4. Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, like they've all been consistently like essentially the same. So yeah, I think they've all been like, consistently the same. I think, like you said, Tornos wasn't as imposing, I feel like, as he should have been. Especially after like the first and second ones where we see like literally Thor couldn't do anything to him. And then, for him to like basically number 3 and like number 4 essentially being like training arc for Tornos, and then number 5 being like finally let's fight him. For there to really nothing happen, like there really be no fight there, just I don't know, it felt a bit like wasted in a sense. Like I understand that they're building up to something bigger with the other gods and
Utgard,
stuff.
yeah.
Yeah, more Utgard gods and stuff like that. And I understand that like in the end Tornos might not even be like that big of a deal. But like with introducing a new like whole new like set of gods like this, I feel like they should have made him do a bit more in the beginning parts till we like know like, oh, if you introduce more gods and they're like actually he was like the weakest of them all, like we're just gonna be like, oh shoot, like what are they gonna do for the rest of them then? So, but yeah, in that aspect, I think it was a bit lacking. But overall, I think the story is still really great, and yeah, really, really enjoy this one still.
I do also think Tornos will be back. I think no way is he
Yeah,
gone. I think he'll come
no.
back as like an uneasy ally or something in the future.
Yeah, no way he's gone. I agree with that.
Okay, we are into the top 5. I am positive this is not on Sebastian's list because he has only read one issue. That is Superman. Yeah, this is I think this is the best series of DC right now, at least of the ones I'm reading. I just think it's been consistently really, really solid. The writing on this is by Joshua Williamson, who I think is generally very good. The artists have jumped around a lot. I don't know who a lot of them are off the top of my head. I know the starting one was Jamal Campbell, who I think set the mood and the tone really well for the series. And it's just been great. I think what really works about the series is that Joshua Williamson inherently just gets the character of Superman so well. He gets his personality, his voice, just everything nailed so accurately, and is also able to like give Superman genuine challenges, both physically and emotionally and mentally, all that, which is not always easy to do. Like especially on the physical, like it's hard to give Superman a physical threat because he is just like the most powerful person in the world. So I think he's done a really good job of making the series interesting. There's also been some like really interesting mysteries going on behind the farm and graft people. And I also like the fact that he's had a Superman working like making an uneasy alliance with Lex Luthor. I think that's been an interesting dynamic to explore as well. And yeah, so as of the recording of this, issue number 9 is out. I haven't read it yet, but it did come out yesterday. But yeah, I think the first 8 issues of the series, which is what I'm basing this off of, were just so solid. I mean, this series came out in February. It started in February, and it was one of the first things that I read this year. I was like, wow, this is really shaping it. I think this is going to be really like a special run. So far it's been very good. Yeah. So I love Superman. I think it's great, and it's my number 5.
All right. Yeah. I am gonna read this.
No, you're
soon.
not.
Soon. It's gonna be there. I mean, from what I've read, the first 2.
First 2? I just read the first one.
No, I
Okay.
might have started the second one.
Okay.
I remember reading a bit more. Yeah, no, this series is great. I love it. I love it.
For me, this series like really like I knew that I was gonna love it when in the first issue, after Superman stops Livewire, he just goes and takes a second to like be the person officiating the wedding of a couple whose wedding got ruined by the Livewire attack. I was like, that's just the most core Superman thing ever. It was fantastic.
No, I think they do a really good job of writing Superman.
Yeah.
That's how like I feel like they always dreamed him of being.
Yeah.
But yeah, in that regard, I've got nothing else to say. And so I will move on to my number 5. It's gonna be World Tree, which was originally my number 8.
Yeah, this is also as I mentioned when Sebastian initially put this as his number 8. Before that's all going to be cut out, but this is on my list as well. Yeah.
Yeah. So I assume I'm going to try and guess real quick where it's number 3.
I'm not going to tell you, but
damn.
Yeah, you'll find out.
What if I got it right? Would you have told me?
No.
Damn. It's okay. Yeah, so I got World Tree, and I have a really funny memory of this one.
I remember
That
this. Yeah.
that's probably why it's not the only reason why it sticks in my mind, but it's a small reason, but it's a funny memory nonetheless. So I was in the middle of, and I was in college when we started doing this,
We're
and
both still in college.
I
Yeah.
still am in college. I'm talking as if I'm out of it. Nope, I'm stuck for another 4 years. And so I was in the middle of class, let's just say, and I was in between classes. So I decided, you know what, let's get ahead and start reading this one because he made me read it. I think, well, it was on the first one, yeah.
This was the first thing I made you read. It wasn't the first
Yes.
episode. It was the first thing I made you read.
No,
Yeah.
yes, but it was still on number one though. It was,
No,
like,
sorry.
really
It was number 3 when I made you read it.
Yes,
Yeah.
I remember that one. Okay, yeah. It was number 3, and I was like, okay, so I started on number 1, and I was in the middle of class reading it, and I didn't know there was nudity in it. So I'm scrolling
Yeah.
through, and all of a sudden there were just boobs on my screen, and I'm like, oh my gosh! And so I clicked
Yeah.
off so fast, and I'm pretty sure nobody else
I
saw
didn't
me.
think you were gonna read it in class. Because
No,
I didn't
I
tell
mean-
you ahead of time, but I did not think that's what you were gonna try.
Exactly. No,
Yeah.
it's fair enough. Fair enough. But I didn't, I knew it was gonna be gory, but I didn't know it was gonna be like mature in that way. So I was
Yeah.
like, oh my gosh, what?
Yeah,
the
in
fuck?
future I will let you know if there's anything like that.
So yeah, no, I just from now on in class, I never read unless it's like something that I've like actually started and I know
It's
for a
like
fact I'm not
Marvel
gonna
or
show
DC or
anything.
something. Yeah.
Exactly. But like something killing the children, I'll read that one. There's no nudity in that one. But yeah, so that's just a funny little memory that I have of that. But besides that, this one was really good. It took me, I didn't instantly fall in love with it like I have like other ones, but this one definitely kept me interested throughout. And it was after, I want to say, it was after like the third one that I was like, okay, I really do enjoy this one. And especially, I believe it was number 5. Yeah, the latest one. I remember being really, really good. And the story behind it, we still don't even have like the whole truth. Yeah, we're still like figuring snippets out. Like we have most of it. We can like have a general idea, I believe. But like we're still missing like honestly pretty major stuff in my opinion. And so yeah, but what we have, like, it helps like keep your mind active. It helps you think about it, which is what I really like about this series. It keeps you thinking, like what's gonna happen next. I like it when you can make up theories that like aren't just completely out there. Like, okay, maybe what if this is why and stuff like that. That's I really like that whole idea that you can do with this series. And so I really like the art. I love the story. And yeah, I'm excited for more.
All right. Well, we're up to my number 4.
Number 4.
I am really curious if Sebastian has got this on his list. My number 4 is The Sacrificers. So this is one that I took a while to warm up to. We've talked about this at length, and pretty much every episode this series has come up in. But I read that first issue and the second issue, and I didn't really like either of them. It wasn't that I outright hated them or disliked them or anything. It was that I thought there were a lot of really fascinating concepts here. I think the world was really interesting from the start. And I thought that Rick Remender's writing had real potential there. And the art by Masato Mara has been incredible throughout. But so I thought there was real potential there. I just didn't think it was executing on it in the way that I was hoping it would. And then issue 3 happened, and I was like, oh shit, okay, this is interesting. This is kind of more what I was looking for. There's some stuff here. There's a really, there's a huge cliffhanger at the end of issue number 3. And then issue number 4 was kind of, again, building out the world some more, but by that point, it had kind of gotten the touch to me a little bit. And then issue number 5 is in heavy contention for the best issue I read this year. It's not, but it might be number 2. Issue number 5 was just full of, again, a lot of, like, insane twist. It's where we figured out that there's just like plot armor does not exist in this series. No character is safe. Like anybody could die. And I just think it was like really, really engaging at that point. And so now this is like, there's only one more issue left in the arc, and then it's going on break for a little bit. So we don't know like when the next issue is going to come out after that. But this is easily now one of my most anticipated series every time it comes out. I'm just really looking forward to seeing more of what this world has to offer and more of where Rick Remender is taking the story. I think it's excellent. It took me a while to get there, but I got there. I know I was like one of the only people at the start. Both Sebastian and I, not like we were like the two people that I knew of who did
Yeah.
not like this series from the start. But I got there, so and I'm really enjoying it now, and yeah, I'm really looking forward to seeing how it goes. This one honestly could be higher. There was a point where this was my number one. It's dropped a little bit since then, but
Yes.
this could be really great. Like this could all these top four could be like anywhere. They could interchange like no problem. So yeah, this is where I have it right now.
Gotcha. Yeah. It is on my list.
Okay.
It is on my list.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll say my 2 cents when I get there.
Yeah.
But yes, it is on my list. I will say that. So for my number 4, I'm honestly curious if this is on your list. I assume it is, but
I don't know about that. We'll
it
see
might not
though.
be. My number 4 is Void Rivals.
Void Rivals is absolutely not on my list.
Yeah, I didn't think so. Was it? Did you even mention it?
No, it's not. I only really like about like I like maybe 2.5 issues of that series.
No, yeah, all right. So,
Yeah.
all right. This is why it's so high on my list. Number 1 and number 2, especially number 1. Number 1, didn't like that much. I got interested at the very end when they all of a sudden introduced the Transformer. I was like, what the hell? Number 2, it really wasn't that great. I'm not going to say
boring as hell.
No, yeah, it was just boring. I'm not going to say it was the worst one of this series. I don't know if it is.
I think issue 5 is my least favorite.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Number 3 and number 4, just reading, have been some of the most enjoyable ones that I've read this year, and that's why it's so high. Simply just between these two, I fell in love with this series. It was so good, especially number 4. Number 4 was honestly like 10 out of 10 for me. It was amazing.
I think number 4 was like an A for me. I did like number 4 a lot though, yeah.
Number 4 was great. Number 3 was like if number 4 was like A plus, number 3 was like an A, like a high B or low A for me as well. And then it fell down again with 5 and kind of 6. Not as much as 5, but 6 was not as nearly as good either. But simply between just number 4, honestly, I could easily, even with just number 4, I'd still put it at where it is on my list. The art itself is great.
The art is good, yeah.
I like this, because this takes place in the Energon universe.
Yep.
And
it was the first of the Energon universe.
Yes. So I like that it's being established. I like the new universe. I love, honestly, seeing the Transformers. But yeah, I really enjoy this story. I think that's simply just because in my mind it's it's too good to be too bad at this point. But yeah,
there's another series that's on your list that I think is a very similar thing.
I mean, I don't know about that one.
We'll get to it.
It's great. Seriously though, this one is it's really good series. I'm excited to see where it goes. I hope it can pick up again and pick up like number 4, and hopefully it can bring out another one like that. But even if not, I think I'm gonna go through with this one, even if it starts dying, honestly.
I also will, but that's more just to stay up to date with the Energon universe, I think.
Yeah.
But to be fair, like I want to like it because it's Robert Kirkman who's writing it, who I generally really like. I mean, Invincible is great. I'm not done with it, but it's very good. So I want to like it. I have not gelled with it for the most part.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I'm surprised you didn't even mention it, especially after, because I know you specifically too were like, holy crap, number 4 was amazing.
Yeah, and it's also like, this is the first, I think this is the first new number 1 I talked about on the show.
I think so,
that first episode was the first issue of Void Rivals. So, sorry, my dog's barking in the background if you can hear that. But so I do want to like it. I'm not there with it. Okay, my number 3. I kind of wish I had switched this with my number 4 with the Sacrificers, but this is where it is, and I already talked about the Sacrificers at length for number 4, so we're gonna go with it. I'm staying with this one. My number 3 is the Incredible Hulk. Yeah, just like really great. I've read issue number 7 that just came out yesterday. It is also very good. Again, I'll mostly not be talking about that too much, but yeah, as Sebastian mentioned earlier, I think the body horror is really great. I think it's like easily the most horrific transformations between Bruce and the Hulk that we have ever seen. It's really like there's some pretty gruesome ones in there. And I think, yeah, that just the plot of all the monsters kind of being around there is really cool. It hasn't gotten boring yet, even though there's not really been kind of an overarching thing. Like, it doesn't really feel like it's been building to something yet. It's just been kind of like Hulk going around taking down these isolated monsters, which, by the way, issue number 7 has just the first half of it fucking perfect. It's like, I'm not gonna go too much into it, but it's a Hulk and Ghost Rider versus a Demon, and it's just so cool. And so, yeah, I think the art is generally great. I do think the Nick Klein part of the art is better than when Travel Foreman took over for a couple issues. That means I don't think it was bad. I just think it was not as good as the Nick Klein stuff. And Philip Kennedy Johnson has just been crushing it on writing. I think generally there's been some really good action sequences. I had a complaint kind of early on where Hulk takes down this huge monster. I think it was like Brother Deep or something.
Yeah.
Just, I think, too easily, because this thing was fucking huge and he just did not struggle at all. So I'm worried that, like, Hulk's strength level may be a little bit overpowered here. Not even, like, not that it's inconsistent with his character. It's just that I think the way it's been written so far, there's not much tension from that standpoint, because the Hulk just had no trouble in these fights at all. But I think the tension has come from other sources, just like the human drama and horror that's been in there, and I think that's been really effective. So, and the action is still great, and the art is great. So, yeah, I think this is very good. I do think Man-Thing was underutilized, but I also know I'm a bigger Man-Thing fan than most people, so that's maybe just something that I'm bothered by. But yeah, I think it's very good, and I'm excited to see where it keeps going. It's this is my favorite ongoing series at Marvel right now, I think. So at least that I'm caught up on, and that has had 3 or more issues. So yeah.
Yeah. All right, my number 3. Want to try and guess what it is?
Is it the Sacrificers?
It is the Sacrificers.
There we go. I thought it might be number 3. Yeah.
So number 1, we both read it and we were both like, okay, this could be interesting, but like it's boring right now. And I think we both agreed that it was simply because they were trying to establish a whole new universe.
Right.
They're trying to establish this entire new story, and so they're still trying to just introduce. They weren't even trying to introduce characters per se, just introduce this new idea, and they were doing it in a way where it wouldn't reveal too much, which at this point I appreciate.
Yeah.
So after I didn't read number 2 or 3 for that matter.
Yeah.
It was number 5 that I finally caught up. But in general, this series is amazing. You can't think about this with plot armor anymore. They kill off like literally one of the main character, like a main character that I thought was going to be like one of the main protagonists of this series. They just killed her off like nothing. Honestly, I feel like
it wasn't even too.
It was brutally, and it was, I feel like, just so easily, like, not glossed over, but it was just so quick. Like there was no struggle. Like,
yeah.
I honestly felt like I felt heartbroken because I was like, holy fuck, like what the hell just happened? Because that's how it ended. Like that's how number 5 ended. They just killed off the character, and it was just that's it. And you're just like there's no way that just happened.
Yeah.
And it's just, oh my gosh. And then the story, I appreciate it now what they did in the beginning by not revealing too much. The way they revealed it throughout, just it's amazing. It makes so much sense the way they are telling the story, and the art itself is also really good. It's super bright, but like at the same time dark.
Yeah, depending on the scenes,
because like the scenes can be like super bright and cheerful, but like what's actually happening is just so dark.
Yeah,
and just
that's the darkest. I think it's the darkest thing I read.
This series is amazing.
Yeah,
love it. This
is one of those ones where I think like if you do read comics, you should absolutely be reading this. But even if you don't read comics, I think this is one that you should be reading as well. Like it's one of those rare ones that I feel like could possibly convert somebody because it's just so like expertly told. And I know Rick Remender, I think he said in the first issue, at like the kind of letter at the back of the issue that he was inspired by like David Lynch and kind of those kind of filmmakers. And so it's kind of a very slow burn story that he's going to kind of unveil as it goes, and it's definitely felt that way, and I think it's paid off very well. And yeah, I'm glad I stuck with it. So Okay, my number 2 is World Tree.
It is.
So you were wrong. You thought it was number 3, but it's number 2.
I was close.
You were close. And actually, like Maybe it should be lower. I'm good with it at number 2. I do think, though, it's interesting because you said that number 5 was your favorite. Number 5 is my least favorite. I think it kind of the way it wrapped up that arc was a little bit underwhelming. I think it does set up some interesting stuff for the future. And World Tree comes back next week at the time of recording, which I'm very excited for. Because I do think it's great. But yeah, the world, the characters, the threat, like it's all very like this is this maybe it's kind of a toss up between this and the Sacrificers for the darkest comic I read this year. Because World Tree is pretty fucking dark. And like dark in like a really weird, like creepy almost real world way, because Sacrificers is like it's set against the backdrop of this fantastical, fantasy world. This is just like a World Tree, just a dark and grimy, like real world parallel kind of thing. Obviously with some like there's obviously like some weird like horror creatures that are hiding in the in the backdrop of the series that we haven't seen too much of yet. So there is some like supernatural stuff going on for sure, but it does feel more real in a lot of senses than Sacrificers does. So I think this kind of felt maybe more dark on that level. But yeah, the characters I think are all pretty interesting. I think there's too many of them. They need to take, I think they need to kind of kill some of them off. In order to effectively develop them all kind of more frequently. That being said, like, you can kind of do that. Yeah, if the series goes on long enough, I'm sure they'll all get development. But as it stands right now, between that first arc having to set up the world and like 10 different characters and the threat and everything kind of going on and the history of what's been going on, it's like it felt like it was a lot to set up. I think James Tynion in the 4th handled it about as well as he could have, but I think it would be easier if there were less characters involved. And one of them has already died, so I'm sure there will be more soon to follow as well. Because like right now, I don't really care about any of the characters that much. I think it's more the world and the underlying threat that has really got me interested. And so it's a testament to how good those things are that this managed to be my number 2. But yeah, very good. I'm excited for it to come back. It looks like it might be only 3 issues until it takes its next break. It looks like it's going to be 6, 7, and 8, and then it goes on break again, which is kind of a bummer. But yeah, I think it's a very good series. It's definitely one of the comic highlights of the year for me. So
I'm generally surprised this one's above Sacrificers, to be honest. Simply because of the way Sacrificers is going, I feel like in the end, just with those 3, I think overall has been better than World Tree. And I know you said you thought maybe Sacrifice is too low on your list. I don't know.
Yeah,
I think it should be.
Even then, though, I think like Sacrificers, yes, Sacrificers is in a really good place right now for me. But I think ultimately the first 4 issues of World Tree, I think, are as good as Sacrificers, or at least nearly as good as where Sacrificers is now. And I think there's only been 1 issue of World Tree that I haven't loved, where there were like 2.5 issues of Sacrificers that I wasn't super on board with before that one kind of really got me engaged. So I think that's just kind of the way I think. Because I would maybe put Sacrificers in number 3, but I wouldn't put it above World Tree. It would still be underneath that. Yeah.
No, yeah. I don't know. I think I generalize think of comics and like ratings in like, especially in this case, like what top 10s based on like what hypes me up the most,
Sure.
In the end. And so, yeah, I think that's why I would put Sacrifices above World Tree in that sense. But yeah, I don't know.
I also was trying to not like kind of let recency bias affect me as well, because Sacrifice is so much more fresh in my mind. And so typically I will kind of think of it in a higher position. But I do think World Tree is still, for me, just a little bit edging out Sacrifice. That could very well change, like for sure. Yeah, but right now it's where I'm at. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, all right. Anyway, my number 2 is Something is Killing the Children.
Really? It's not number 1.
No
way.
No.
I'm genuinely shocked by that.
It is not number 1. Yeah, I honestly thought you know what my number 1 would be.
I was positive it was going to be this. So,
yeah, well, no, but yes, this one is amazing. It easily could be my number 1, but my number 1 it's still, I think, in my mind, I think it is a little bit better than this, honestly. But yeah, so I don't know, when did you start this one? Did you start this one last year?
No, I started it like a week before we started our podcast. Gotcha, I didn't start it that much before you did, yeah.
Gotcha, okay. So, yeah. So, when I added this to my list, I rated it as a whole. I did. And so, all 35 chapters.
See, that's why yours is higher. I'm only going based on what you got this year, yeah.
So, I definitely did do that. But If I were to only rate it based off of what was this year specifically, not just what we have talked about on the podcast, I definitely think it would be lower. I still think it'd be in my top 5 though. But overall, this series is amazing. The first act specifically is just like comic gold. It's so well written and just the art is so different from I feel like a lot of other comics out there right now that it's just like it's very unique in its own way, and specifically the monsters as well. They're all like the first one was super dark and just like super monotone in colors. It was just black and red. That's it. The second monster, you never really get a good glimpse until he changes into Erica. But overall, the monster itself looks very freaky. And then we get the middle story, which is just like background. And I still think that was really well told. Obviously, not as good as the first story. The second story did drop. I don't think it dropped entirely from the beginning, though. I think it's just how they ended it is where it dropped. I think the last 2 is where it really killed it for me. Up until then, it has been mostly hit. I wouldn't say missed completely, but there have been more like good ones than bad ones. But overall, I instantly fell in love with this one, and I would like instantly go back and reread it. Like it's on a level of like Invincible for me at this point. Like it's just like so easy to read, and I could easily reread it like 3 more times and just still enjoy it just as much.
Yeah, I think this entire arc, essentially since the flashback, so I think the flashback stuff with Erica was good, but after that, where they started doing the whole Cutter duplicitize stuff, I actually did feel pretty immediately it felt like it dropped to me. Not a huge amount, and there were still for sure huge high points in there, but I think the buildup was drawn out to a degree that made the conclusion even more underwhelming. I think if they had cut some of the buildup and then maybe extended the actual conclusion, I would have felt more more positive on this. But I think outside of a few really standout issues, a lot of the buildup felt just like really kind of like it was treading its feet or treading water and dragging its feet to just kind of, get going. And it just didn't, by the time it did get going, then it was over so quick that I was like, well, what the hell? Like it just kind of felt like there was too much buildup, not enough payoff, and that the payoff that was there was not good enough. And also that the buildup was not interesting enough, I think. So that entire thing did kind of throw me off the book a little bit.
Yeah.
But it is still good for sure. Okay, well, moving on to my number 1 of the year. This is gonna be a shock to Sebastian, I think. But my number 1 is Black Panther. Now, I'm a recent convert to this Black Panther series. I did not talk about this when Sebastian was initially reviewing it. But I just, his hatred of it, his disdain of the series made me really interested to see what the big idea was all about. So I went back and I read Black Panther, at least the stuff that's on Marvel Unlimited. And I think it's pretty good. I like I like the difficulties that T'Challa is having in his new, homeland of Burn and T'Chaka. He fights a Deathlock. He's doing all this stuff, and it's just really good. It's really great. So that's not my actual number 1. I was trying to think because I have not read a single issue in this series. I just know Sebastian hates it. So yeah, my actual number 1 is Captain America by J. Michael Straczynski, Saiz, and Lon Medina. I just think it's been really interesting. It's despite it being really boring, it's also really interesting, and there's some cool ideas in there, and and I'm okay. It's not Captain America either.
Oh my god.
I did a double fake out, Sebastian.
Holy sh! That double fake actually got me.
Oh, did it? Haha, it worked.
The first one I knew it was a meme. I genuinely thought you were saying Captain America was number 1.
No, dude, I told you just last week, like 4 days ago, I told you how much I hated Captain America 4.
That's why I was like, what? Yeah. I was like, I didn't know what was happening at this point. I was like,
I just edited the section of it when we were talking about Captain America 4. Even with me having edited it down, we shat on that issue for 12 minutes straight. So, yeah, no way was that my number 1. No, my actual number 1 and this is not really going to be a surprise to anybody that knows me. It's Daredevil, but not the Solid and Ahmed Aaron Tudor run, the Chip Zdarsky and Marco Checchetto run that ran from January to August of this year. Just like I was going to say, I don't know what I can say that I haven't already said about it. But actually, I've only talked about 2 issues of this on the show because we started this pretty late into this run. This just is like, this is the epitome of like why I love Daredevil is this run right here. It just exemplifies, I think, everything that works about this character. It's drawn incredibly. Like Marco Checchetto is just one of the best artists working out there. He is a huge reason why I'm so excited for Ultimate Spider-Man coming up because he's doing interiors on that. He's an incredible artist, and Chip Zdarsky, his Batman's been hit or miss for me, but I think his Daredevil has always been incredible. It started in 2019. It was this huge, like 4.5 year long saga. It started early 2019. And it just basically never missed. Like there was the odd issue here and there that wasn't quite as good, but it was essentially just fantastic from start to finish. And this year in particular, I think the first issue was issue number 7 of this particular run. 7 through 14 were the ones from this run, and 7 wasn't great. And actually, I didn't love 8 either. But 9 through 14, with the exception of 13, I think, were the best comics I read this year, pretty much, full stop. I think especially issue number 10 and issue number 12, and then also issue number 14, but particularly 10 and 12 were just some of the most like just perfect comics I read. And 12 in particular, it's just astounding. Like it's hard for me to talk about it, partially because it's been a while since I've read it, actually, because I read issue number 12 the week before we started this podcast back in June. But just the way the plot is laid out and the way the tension was just constantly building and building and building, and then it would just explode in this like cataclysmic. It was just incredible to watch. And so I didn't get into this run on the ground floor. I started this run with the start of this volume 2 of Zdarsky's run, which started in August of last year in 2022. I had read the previous run up to that point, but I didn't read it monthly until that second part of it. But just incredible. I've loved watching it unfold as it ran. It's probably my favorite comic run ever, this Daredevil run, and it's incredible. It's beautiful. It's fantastic. So yeah, I love it, and I am biased because I love Daredevil. Daredevil's my favorite fictional character of all time. I know I'm biased, but it's genuinely, I think, astounding, and yeah, I just love it. So.
All right, yeah. That one was honestly pretty obvious.
I got you with that Captain America, though.
You got me with the Captain America. I was like, I got thrown for a loop. My mind got like turned upside down. I was about to start screaming out. Oh my gosh. I'm gonna read this one too.
I don't believe you. I hope you do, but I don't believe you.
Why don't you believe, man?
I've been telling you to read this for ages, man. This is like, if you're not even reading Superman, like I don't know if you're gonna go back and read this one that's not even like going on anymore.
Yeah, it's good. It's good. All right, my number 1. It's Superman.
No, it's not.
It is. All right. I read it yesterday. I caught up. I didn't read all of it. I haven't caught up. I freaking love this series. I didn't say anything while you were saying anything because I wanted to surprise you.
I can't tell if you're trolling me or not right now.
It's like I had said earlier. I did say this, and I know I simply said it because I know I told you before that it's just they're writing Superman so well. And I would know more if I actually read it because I haven't read it at all.
I got you, dude. You thought you were so clever.
No, it's no. I'm genuinely surprised though. You don't know my number 1.
I thought for sure it would be something that's going to enjoy. You have been gushing to me about that for fucking. It feels like years, even though it's only been like 4 months since you read the first issue. So.
I mean, hey, we've both been saying really good stuff about it. The last one we didn't have a lot good stuff to say, as much as we have, but it's still really great. Don't diss something is killing the children. But no, it's this one is I think it's going to be 5. It's a 5-part miniseries, and It's The Call. Yeah, unsurprisingly to
Oh my
everybody
god!
else.
Oh my god!
This one has 2 number 10s in my ratings here, and it's it has been just a whirlwind, man. I mean, just the first one, it piqued our interest. I know he won't admit it, but it piqued our interest.
No, it did pique my interest, that first one. Yeah.
It piqued our interest, and we were hooked instantly.
I wouldn't go that far.
We were hooked, and it just went to 100 with the second one. They started talking about liminal spaces, and let me tell you, oh my gosh, it was an instant number 10 for me, 10 out of 10. And I will say the third one fell down a little bit. There was no talk of liminal spaces, none of that. There was just running away from the world. But then they brought it back with number 4, and this one had a full page dedicated.
Oh my god! I didn't read number 4.
And if he's not reading number 5, I'm gonna make him read it, guys. Don't worry. He's gonna finish this one with me. And this one, the art, I really can't say it's fantastic, but it's
I still can't tell whether or not I like the art. Sometimes I think I do, but
sometimes I really think I do, but sometimes I'm just not sure. They kind of look like Play-Doh sometimes. Like it's just like it's a hit or miss sometimes. I think
people, it's weird. The art looks weird for people.
It's specifically like a couple of people though. It's not every one of them. Besides that, I didn't choose this one for the art. I chose it for the story.
No, we all know why you chose it, Sebastian. You chose it for the fucking liminal spaces. I can't believe you've done this. I can't believe I didn't see it either. I was just...
Dude, you did it. I'm so surprised. I'm honestly genuinely surprised. It's honestly, before I made this list, it was only on number 10, simply for the meme pick. But then you started going off about switching the things, and I went, fuck it. Straight to number 1.
Oh my god.
And oh man, yeah, it's but yeah, this one's the number 1 pick, but not really. It's Something Killing the Children, but yeah, it's The Call.
Okay, well, anyway, that wraps it up for this week. Thank you everybody for listening or watching, and I don't just mean for this episode. I mean for the year. This has been very fun doing this for the past like nearly 6 months now, which is crazy to think about. It does not feel that long. But yeah, it's been. I think I've had a great time putting the show together, and it's been very fun. And so thanks to everybody who's listened to any episode at all for the entirety of the year. It's been we are very grateful to have any of the listeners that we do have. Our channel's been growing a little bit, so that's very cool. So thanks to everybody who's listened. Whether you've been with us since the start or whether you just this is your first episode, we appreciate it. If you'd like to get in touch with the show, you can do so at earthsmightestcomicsPod@gmail.com. That is all one word, no apostrophe in the word Earth. That is our email address. If you want to let us know what you think about the new comics coming out, what are your favorite comics of the year, then you can do so there. Or you can also leave a comment on YouTube, where you can also leave a like on the video if you enjoyed it. You can subscribe to the channel if you want to see more of our podcast, and where you can also hit the bell notification if you want to be notified when we post new videos. If you're on Spotify, you can follow the show over there. That is the best way to make sure that you don't miss an episode over there. And yeah, thanks again for the year, everybody. Hope everybody had good holidays and everything, and has a good new year. And we'll see you next year.
Goodbye.